Good evening and welcome to 誰でも英会話 Live, where we study and use English while having a great time. What's one of the best things about 英会話 Live? You can share your ideas in the chat while watching the show. Viewers who share an idea in one video in a month are 365 Language Planet Samurai. Viewers who share an idea in 5 videos in a month are 365 Language Planet Daimyo. And viewers who share an idea in 10 videos in a month are 365 Language Planet Shogun / Ohime-sama. And we already have 6 daimyo so far this month. Way to go, Charming, Takanona, Take Agnor, Kanmama, K-Workshop, and YTH. And we also have 7 samurai. Hiromi Okada, Takesh, Hiroti, Saku, Tomo, Disney, and Leonardo. Way to go, everyone. Alright, so tonight's show is Dare Demo Eikaiwa Live, Unit 20, Section D. First, we will listen and repeat English questions that are great for conversation. And then you have 4 minutes to write your answer to each question in the chat. Lastly, you have 4 minutes to write a new question in the chat by changing my question. Let's begin! So the first question of tonight's show is, don't you live in my Bashi? Let's listen and repeat. Don't you live in my Bashi? One more time. Don't you live in my Bashi? Alright, so now please write your answer in the chat. I'll start the timer. Okay. Oh my. We can't see the timer. I'm gonna have to move it. Okay, I'm gonna put the timer there. Okay, so please write your answer in the chat. Don't you live in my Bashi? Now, this is an interesting question, using don't you. Don't you is a little bit different than do you. When people say, do you live in my Bashi? They don't know. They have no idea. So they're just asking for the first time. When people say, don't you live in my Bashi? This is when they think you live in my Bashi, but I want to double check. So Take Agner says, I live in my Bashi. All right, way to go. Thank you for joining the show, Take Agner. That's great. Here, maybe I'll put the timer right here. Be a good place. Under my face. Okay, so yeah, Charmin says, I live in my Bashi too. That's great. So in the case of when someone says, don't you live in my Bashi? A lot of times what you can say first is, that's right. I live in my Bashi. How about you? It's a lot of times when people say, don't you something, and if you do, then you can just say, that's right. I live in my Bashi. Or, yes, I live in my Bashi. How about you? And then when you don't live in my Bashi, so like someone said, oh, don't you live in my Bashi? I would say, oh, no. Actually, I live in Takasaki. Okay, Workshop says, yes, I do. I really live in my Bashi. That's funny. Yes, yeah, me too. Yeah, you can say, yes, I do, or that's right. I really live in my Bashi. But if you don't, you can say, actually. So don't you live in my Bashi? No, Actually, I live in Tokyo. But actually, I don't live in Tokyo. But, just as an example, practice. So far, we have 3 Bashi people. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. I wonder if we have anyone from a different city watching tonight's show, or if we have any more Bashi people. All right. So, don't you live in Bashi? Please write your answer in the chat. If you do, you can say, yes, I do, or that's right, I live in Maebashi. If you don't, you can say, actually, I live in Kanagawa, or I live in Yokohama. Any place is okay. And Mama says, I don't live in Maebashi, I live in Takasaki. All right, nice answer, Kan Mama. That's great. Saku says, me too. I moved here 4 years ago. That's great. Thank you for joining the show, Saku. Hiromi Okada says, unfortunately, I live in Isesaki. Why, unfortunately? But thank you for joining the show. Kana says, yes, I live in Maebashi. I love it. That's great. Thank you very much for joining the show. We got a lot of Maebashi people and one Isesaki person. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next section. So now I want you to please write a new question in the chat by changing my question. I'll start the timer. Okay. Takanona says, no, I don't live in Maebashi. I live in Takasaki. Okay. Thank you for joining the show, Takanona. All right. Okay, so anyways, okay, great job. So now let's try to write a new question in the chat by changing my question. So, for example, you could say, me recently, this drink. You might say, don't you drink this kind of drink every night? Maybe, could be. But this is a if you make a question using don't you, you should try to ask about something that you think is right. So if you think, okay, so Charmin says, don't you like this ice cream? I'll eat all. Nice idea. That's this ice cream is a little bit specific. I think you could say just don't you like ice cream? Sometimes a simple question is best. Don't you like ice cream? Um, don't you like cooking? Something like that. But yeah, great, nice idea, Charming. Of course, you don't have to use don't you. If you want to, you could say, you could use do you. Like talk about living in Maebashi. You got a lot of people who live in Maebashi, so you might say, do you like living in Maebashi? Um, is living in Maebashi fun? Okay, K Workshop says, don't you study English every day? Ooh, great question. Or in my case, I would say, if I was you asking me, I would say, don't you play Duolingo every day? All right, Take Agnor says, don't you drink French wine? Nice idea. Kana says, don't you want to live in different places? Nice idea. Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Good Mama says, don't you have a cold? You look sick. Oh no. I hope you're not talking about me. All right. Takanona says, do you eat cake? Nice idea. Don't you eat cake? Because, yeah, nice question. Hiromi Okada says, don't you drive in Japan? Nice question too. And but Japan's a big country. Maybe, yeah, talk about. I think for people who live in Guma, I think most people think people drive, and so I would say you know either for people living in Guma, maybe either don't you drive in Guma, or don't you have a car? I think probably don't you have a car is a great question. But I would say no, actually I don't have a car. But yeah, great questions, everyone. Nice work. All right. Well, the next question of tonight's show is, what should we do for New Year's Eve? So please listen and repeat. What should we do for New Year's Eve? One more time. What should we do for New Year's Eve? All right. So now please write your answer in the chat. I'll start the timer. Okay, so I know this is a little bit of a tough question for English conversation because the question is like, what should we do? So that's, probably a little bit more natural of a question would be, what do you want to do for New Year's Eve? What should we do is kind of like, it's a good question, but it's more for like your family, like talking to your family or talking to very close friends that you often spend New Year's Eve with. So a little bit. So it's up to you. You could answer with like, you could imagine, you're talking with your family, and someone says, "What should we do for New Year's Eve?" Okay, K Workshop says, "Of course, we should drink alcohol." I think so too, but I think you have to be careful not to drink too early. Sometimes, if I start the party like at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and start drinking, oh, I get so tired. Sometimes I can't stay up until the New Year. Taki Agnor says, we should eat soba for New Year's Eve. Nice idea. I think it's a great tradition in Japan. We should eat soba. I know, some people, like to go to a shrine, but it's pretty cold. It's pretty cold. All right, Charmin says, we should prepare for New Year's and we should eat toshi kishi soba. Is that the kind of long soba? I heard, the long soba is kind of lucky for New Year's. Takanona says, on New Year's Eve, we watch the red and white song battle and eat toshi koshi soba noodles. Sounds great. Sounds very nice. Okay, timer's in my face. So yeah, that's great. All right. Hiromi Okada says, we'd like to celebrate my daughter's birthday. Yep, her birthday is the New Year's Eve. Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine having a baby on New Year's Eve? What a special day, and very easy to remember. That's great. I hope you guys have a great birthday party and happy New Year's Eve. But like I said, just have to be careful, to always, I'd like to always, if possible, I like to stay up until 12 a.m. to welcome in the new year. But if I start drinking too early, I get so sleepy, and I'm just like, I just want to go to bed. I'll welcome in the new year tomorrow morning. Uh, and one interesting tradition in the U.S. is to drink sparkling wine or champagne. We can, sparkling wine, champagne. Oh, good. Kan Mama says, anyway, I have to clean the room and prepare for special foods. Well, that sounds tough, but maybe at least while cleaning and preparing, you can have a drink to have a try to enjoy the work and then celebrate the new year. Great ideas, everyone. If you're still working on your idea, please continue. You can share your ideas anytime. But we're gonna move on to the next section. So now, please write a new question in the chat by changing my question. Okay, I'll start the timer. Okay, so please write a new question in the chat by changing my question. And my question is, what should we do for New Year's Eve? And so, you could ask a question about New Year's Eve, like, do you usually eat toshikishi soba on New Year's Eve? Okay, Hiromi Okada says, what should we do for Halloween? Great question. Great question. I don't know. What do you think, Hiromi Okada? Always, in America, sometimes Halloween is a little bit of a dangerous holiday because sometimes people drink a lot, and then the weather is kind of cold, especially in my hometown. So it's a little bit of a and people wear costumes. It's kind of crazy night in the U.S., but in Japan, very peaceful. At least in Guma, it's very peaceful. I guess in Tokyo it might be a little crazy. All right, anyone else? Please try to write a new question in the chat by changing my question. My question is, what should we do for New Year's Eve? All right. Charming says, what should we do for Christmas Eve? Great question. In my family, we often put our Christmas tree up on Christmas Eve because my home is kind of small. But how about you, Charming? What do you think we should do for Christmas Eve? Please let me know in the chat. Yeah, it's perfect so far. What should we do for Halloween? What should we do for Christmas Eve? Takanona says, what should we do for New Year's? Great question, nice idea. All right, Kan Mama says, where should we go for winter holiday? Nice idea. Taku says, what should I do to keep exercising? Great question. That's a tough one. That's a really, really tough question. Great question. For me, it is very difficult to keep exercising. I have a hard time with that. So, I think it's good. It's good to try different things. One thing I'm going to try tomorrow is to do some sit-ups. Like you can put your hands like this and do the sit-up like that. But I'm only gonna do maybe like 50% of my usual amount. Okay, Charmin says, I go to church on Christmas Eve every year. Nice idea. That's great. Very nice. A lot of Americans, and like Japanese people too, go to church on Christmas Eve. That's great. All right. Well, fantastic questions, everyone. Nice work. Let's move on to the last question of tonight's show, which is, it's so tough for me to exercise every day. How about you? Please listen and repeat. It's so tough for me to exercise every day. How about you? One more time. It's so tough for me to exercise every day. How about you? Okay, so now please write your answer in the chat. I'll start the timer. All right. It's so tough for me to exercise every day. How about you? So in English, I mean, in this question, we have, it's when you see a question like this, there's like a two opposites. So there's tough on this side, tough, or difficult, hard. And on this side, we have easy. And like, the at the most is very easy. And here is very tough or so tough. And then there's kind of a middle, like it kind of goes like, so this would be kind of easy, not so easy. And on the other side, it's from like so tough to like pretty tough, kind of tough, not so tough. Yeah. So, anyways, you got when you make your answer, it's good. It's good to either use tough or easy. So like, really? It's easy for me to exercise every day. What's wrong with you? Could be, for some people, it's easy to exercise. I would say for me, it's very easy to use Duolingo every day to study languages, but it's not easy to exercise. All right, Charmin says, I like exercise, but it's not tough. My exercise is very easy. Oh, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. So yeah, sometimes I think that's my problem too. Is maybe I aim too high, like, oh, I want to train really hard, but it's tough to train really hard every day. And so I need to make some easy days, for me to do some, very light exercise. And then some days I could do a little bit harder exercise. And then if, some days I have more time and energy, I could do a really hard exercise. But, it's still, even though I have this idea, it's still tough for me. All right, K Workshop says, it's even tough for me to exercise sometimes, but because I have a lot of things to do. Yes. Well, that's a good sign though, it's just tough because you have a lot of things to do. Sometimes, I don't have so many things to do, but I'm too tired. I'm too tired to exercise. So I try, for me, like I try to rest more. And then usually if I take a good rest, I can exercise. Kana says, not so tough. I exercise for a short time. Very smart, very smart. That's a great idea. Saku says, I can't keep exercising. I get muscle pain quickly and give up. I'm going to clap because, yeah, that's good, great English, but I'm sorry to hear that, Saku. So, yeah, I would say, Saku, maybe you and me, we should try Charming's idea, to do, the very easy exercise first. Easy exercise is a good place to start, and this, just try to make a habit to do it. Okay, Takanona says, exercising once every 3 days suits me. Nice idea. Okay, Kanamama says, me too. So I go to the gym twice a week. My exercise is very easy. Nice idea. EK says, when I was younger, I used to work out at the gym, and at that time I had no difficulty doing that. But now I find it really hard just to jog a little. Well, great sentence, EK. And actually, thank you for joining the show. Welcome. That's great. Very nice sentence. And, I think, age is important. You got to think about age. As you get older, it's good to change how you exercise. Okay, well, let's move on to the last section of tonight's show. So this time, please write a new question in the chat by changing my question. Okay, so I'll start the timer. Okay, and let's try to write a new question in the chat by changing my question. So my question was, it's so tough for me to exercise every day. How about you? In this case, it might be, for some people, it's tough to sleep. Like, it's so tough for me to sleep every night. How about you? Anything is okay. It doesn't have to be tough. Maybe for, like I was saying, for me, like it's very easy for me to use Duolingo every day. How about you? It's possible, but yeah, anything's okay. And it could be a funny one, like, oh, it's easy for me to watch YouTube all day. How about you? Anything is okay. Please enjoy making a fun English, sentence and question, or yeah, anything. Anything's okay. Like, K Workshop says, it's so tough not to watch YouTube every day. How about you? Me too. Me too. Especially football season. I love football season, and on YouTube, there's so many YouTubers who make, interesting videos about football. So tough. All right, Hiromi Okada says, it's a bit tough to keep my motivation at 4 for learning Italian with Duolingo. Nice idea. And then, in that situation, you could say, how about you? Or you could say, do you have any advice? Do you have any advice? And yeah, I would say just, my advice would be to, yeah, just, rest, take a nice rest, and try to just enjoy using Italian. Saku says, it's so tough for me to wake up early. I'd like to know some tips. All right, nice idea. Charlie says, it's very interesting for me to see the night sky. It's so beautiful. How about you? Nice idea, Charlie. Yes, I love the night sky too. I think it's very beautiful as well. But, it's tough, when it comes to night sky, it's kind of hard because of the season. Like in the summer, the night sky is not very clear, but the weather is nice to go outside and look at the night sky. And then in this season, fall and winter, the night sky is very beautiful, but it's kind of cold outside. So sometimes it's challenging to find the best season. Taku, it's so tough for me to wake up early. I'd like to know some tips. It's kind of tough for me to wake up early too. Um, hmm, that's a tough one. Tough question. All right, Kun Mama says it's so tough for me to study Korean with Duo. I'm sorry to hear that, Kun Mama. Kana Kana says it's a bit tough for me to come back home until 8 p.m. Sorry to hear that, but yeah, nice idea. And I would just, remember you can always add the phrase either "How about you?" or "Do you have any advice?" Okay, Mickey, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. It's a little tough for me to study every day. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's me too. Me too. It's tough, especially when you're busy. A lot of people are so busy. It's very tough. And so yeah, I recommend just if it's tough, usually the first step you can do is just rest. Rest first, and then usually it's easier to do it after you rest. Either study or exercise. But yeah, good luck. I hope it will become easier for you. All right. Well, that's the end of tonight's show. Thank you so much for studying and using English with me. We have shows every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. This week, no Spango Live on Friday at 3 p.m. because I'm going to pick up my mom in Tokyo, so I can't make a show. But next week, I will. I plan to restart the Spango Live. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. I hope everyone has a great night, and I will see you next time. So have a great night. Bye bye.